Welcome back to another episode of Consciously Clueless. I'm your host, Carly, and I'll be your guide on this journey from consciousness to cluelessness and back around again. Thanks for joining me for another Sunday solo episode. Whether it's Sunday night and you're getting ready for your week, Monday morning and you're on your way to work, or whatever day this podcast has found you, I'm really glad you're here. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. Is there something interfering with your happiness, or is it preventing you from achieving your goals? By now, you all know that therapy is an important part of my self-care. It has truly been a game changer in every aspect of my life. BetterHelp is the largest online counseling platform worldwide. They are changing the way people get help with facing life's challenges by providing convenient, discreet, and affordable access to a licensed therapist. BetterHelp makes professional counseling available anytime, anywhere, through a computer, tablet, or smartphone. You can start communicating within 48 hours. It's not a crisis line, it's not self-help. It is professional counseling done securely online. And I have a special offer for you. Visit betterhelp.com/Carly and join the over 1 million people taking charge of their mental health with the help of an experienced professional. By using this code, you get 10% off your first month. That's betterhelp.com/Carly. Take care of yourself today. Thanks again to BetterHelp for sponsoring this podcast. Today, I want to tell you about the best yoga class of my life. Whoa, big statement, right? Big statement from someone who teaches yoga and studies and loves and appreciates yoga. So when I said best yoga class of my life, maybe you started to imagine like this crazy physical class or all these like crazy poses that are wild that you see in the front of Yoga Journal that you're like, how the heck would I get my arm there? Or whatever it is. But it's actually a little different than that. And this class comes up in my brain once in a while and is a good reminder for me on how to do my own classes and how to work with people. So let me set the scene. Now, first I'll set the scene in a beautiful picturesque way, and then I'll tell you some fun behind the curtain stuff. So I was in Colombia. I believe it was Santa Marta, Colombia, but I'd have to check. But either way, it was in the mountains of Colombia. It was beautiful. It was early morning class. It literally was this beautiful place to practice that was open on the sides, and it was like this big gazebo, and you walked up the mountain to get to their house that I think was attached to this place, and it was just gorgeous. I mean, it was just beautiful, breathtaking. I can't believe I'm taking a yoga class here. So let me tell you some behind the scenes. The first couple weeks of backpacking through Colombia was rough for me health-wise. I got some sort of stomach thing, and I will spare you the gruesome details, but it knocked me down for a couple days. It was really, really bad. So the last part of the trip, I was more in recovery mode, and I was starting to feel good again, but I was still tired from being so sick. And we went to this class. It was a beautiful class. I don't remember specifics of the movement. I just remember it being like a nice, easy flow. It wasn't anything crazy hard. Didn't feel like it was super advanced or out of my league, or it just felt like a really good class. I remember that. And then we went into our final relaxation and we went into Shavasana. So remember, I am weak from being so sick and I am tired, and I just had a beautiful morning yoga class. So what happened in Shavasana? I was out. I was out. Like, I didn't wake up or come to until the instructor was wrapping up the class and the rest of the students were up, sitting up, listening to him talk. And I was just like a little baby under a blanket in the corner because I was on the edge of the studio, still laying on my mat. And I was in the front of the room, so it was that thing that was like, I kind of jerked awake and was like, oh, good morning, everybody, as everyone's looking at you, but whatever. So, what made that my favorite class? Of course, it's the scene. I got to say that I did morning yoga in Colombia. That's dope. But you know what was really cool? Was how I experienced this final relaxation pose in Shavasana, and I really let go. I allowed my whole body to relax, my mind to pause, my spirit to take a breath. I actually allowed myself to calm down. And that is something I've been working on for years. But to the point where I was able to go to this whole other state. I do remember for a while feeling like I was in this kind of trance, I guess. It like felt a little otherworldly. But then I'm pretty sure by the end I was just straight up passed out. But it was actually really, really good. And I felt like I woke up from that practice with more energy than I'd had since I'd gotten sick on that trip. And it's my favorite because I think of it as this ultimate, like, letting go, this ultimate vulnerability when you are sick and tired, literally sick and tired in a foreign country, and you relax and you let yourself breathe. And I did that. And it took that space in that moment for whatever reason to really let myself feel that final relaxation and to allow my body to do whatever it needed to do without trying to force any other outcome or to be not, twitching or falling asleep or worrying about what other people are thinking, whatever it was. And I think that's what makes it my favorite yoga class. It just has to be. And the fact that I can think back to that moment and be like, you know what? You're capable of allowing yourself to let go. You're capable of releasing. You're capable of letting someone else be in charge of the moment. And that was a really beautiful thing to learn. And I don't think it really clicked until later, but it's definitely something I call upon now as a reminder and have been more lately. And how that translates as a teacher, when you're in yoga teacher training, we talked about like what happens if someone falls asleep in our practice. And we talked about how like sometimes that's okay. What if that was the first moment all day they have rested? They have laid their head down. What if it was the first time that person has felt safe in a week to release? What if they have had the stomach bug in a foreign country and they are just coming to and they just need that moment? And you are able to facilitate that. So I think in the beginning of being a yoga instructor, you want it to be a certain way. And specifically the way the Western world talks about yoga, we focus on the asana, the physical practice of yoga, and that is just not all there is. And it also doesn't have to look a certain way. And I had to deprogram some of that and relearn that yoga is something different than I thought it was in my early stages years and years and years ago. But that's part of it. That Shavasana, that final moment, that relaxation, that meditation, that breath work, that is all yoga. And as a teacher, it's a good reminder to allow everyone to be on that journey. It's not put your hand here, it has to be here, put your shoulder here, align this. It is me giving suggestions to you and then you figuring out what feels good in your body. And if you fall asleep in Shavasana, I am just going to trust that you needed that and allow you to have that moment. And hopefully that if someone did fall asleep in a final relaxation pose in yoga in one of my classes, it would actually encourage them to come back because it just meant that there was some magic that happened in that class that you were able to let go. And that is a really beautiful, beautiful feeling and a thing to always be working on and to always be trying to achieve. So shout out to that random yoga class in Colombia because I am still thinking about it. What was your favorite yoga class? I want to hear from you. What yoga class have you taken in your life that stands out to you, or maybe a teacher you've had that has been influential? I would love to hear about your kind of favorite experiences practicing and doing yoga. Thanks for listening to another episode of Consciously Clueless. If you enjoyed this episode, hit subscribe wherever you're listening. If you want to help me get this into the ears of more listeners, send it to a friend, text it to a family member, share on social media. Whatever you can do really helps me out. If you want to shout out on this very podcast, head over to Apple Podcasts, leave Consciously Clueless a review, and you might hear your review as the review of the week in the future. And you definitely should head over to patreon.com/consciouslycarly and check out the different membership levels, the community there, all the things that you can get by joining the community and supporting this podcast and this work. Until next time.